Well, hello and welcome everybody to the new health conversation, especially the sensors for the community guidelines. The one thing I always assure the censors for community guidelines is that the new health conversation, we only share medical proof that's in the public domain that every person can access. There's nothing that we're claiming. We don't make claims. We only state absolute pure medical research. We refer to 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies that are in the public domain. We've written 4 best-selling books with some of the top medical doctors in the world. So we don't give out opinions and we certainly don't get claims. So we stay within the rules just to let you know in advance. Okay, well, we got Fernandez, we got John, we got W. Baker, we got, who else is just JJB Transport. Good day to all of you, depending on where you are around the world. This podcast does go all around the world. It's a live podcast. It's not pre-recorded. It's not an infomercial. Everything we're showing you is backed by peer-reviewed human trial medical studies. This is as high as you can go. It's the last stop in medical research is a peer-reviewed human trial study. Interesting enough, can any of you tell me the influences you're following, whether it's keto or paleo or Mediterranean or time-restricted eating or whatever? Can you point to any of those showing you one shred of medical evidence? They don't have it. 2 questions I would ask. Number one, before we start, because I'm going to explain to you exactly what they did, these researchers that invented this. There's no products to buy. This is not a product. This is a revolutionary breakthrough. It's so big that it was just featured on the cover story in Women's World, the #1 women's magazine in the world. I think you can read the headline, Over 50 Protein Miracle. That's the magazine saying that. This is not a diet. The 2 women on there who I did coach, had the great pleasure of doing that. The daughter is 57 years old. She lost 50 pounds in 3 months. The mom, who's 80 years old, lost 90 pounds in 9 months, and they both kept it off for over 2 years. To get on the cover of Women's World, the number one women's magazine in the world, it's for real. It's not a scam. Not only that, they wrote a huge article in the magazine itself. I'll show it to you here in just a second. Look at this. That's the magazine, New Protein Miracle Diet. That's what you're going to learn about today if you stick around. Now, a lot of you, I know you got to go to work. You're going to spend like 5 seconds, and you think you have the answer. How could you have the answer when 80% of America's overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic? Look at this: 21 pounds, 38 inches in 30 days with no exercise. Now, the reason that they didn't allow exercise, the researchers, they didn't want exercise to be an outlier. Not that they're against exercise, so don't hear that, okay? I promise you I will go through step by step exactly what did these researchers do. It's going to shock you to what they basically figured out after 40 years, 100 studies, thousands of people, that every diet out there, people lost weight initially. Well, that sounds great, right? But 2/3 of those people ended up gaining more weight than they lost after 40 years of research. They said something's terribly wrong with our approach. The second thing I'd like to ask you all, or the first thing I'd like to ask, if you were going to lose 20 pounds, be honest with yourself or us. How long would you give yourself normally? Pick any diet, any trainer, any gym. The second thing, does anyone know the technical definition of a calorie? You're counting calories. I didn't know what a calorie was 23 years ago, but I'm saying if you're counting calories right now and you don't even know what a calorie is, why are you counting calories? That's the most important thing. And secondly, what would it be like if you could lose 20 or 30 pounds or 40 pounds or whatever it is? Because I'm going to show you a few more. Now, the pictures that I'm showing, by the way, are 8 or 9 years old. These people have kept their weight off for 8 or 9 years, okay? This is revolutionary. It really, like the magazine says, over 50 protein miracle. Now, it's not for people over 50, and it really isn't even, it's just amazing that the people over 50 lost that kind of weight. That was their point in the whole article. But it's a news story. You know, this is not an advertisement. You can't advertise to get on the cover of Women's World magazine. It doesn't work like that. So I would hope that you all would be very curious about how in the world did that happen. So let's see, the Reaching, Betty, Walls, Aisha, Zook, Lynn, Wesley, Trends, lots of you coming on this morning. If you don't mind, well, it's not that you mind. If you like what you hear, start tapping on the screen so we can get some more likes. We're at 0 right now. So hopefully I'll say something that will be of real value to you. So let's look at just 3 more examples on this protocol. It's not a diet. There's no products involved. What's amazing, it's based on new food combinations that the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world, they're the ones that invented this. And they don't have a product, they don't have a company, they don't sell anything. We don't sell anything. We're going to go over all of that in just a moment. But let's look at some other people here. This woman, that's 35 pounds in 37 days. Look at that, everybody. Look at the. I know you think some people think it's a different woman because she shrank so much. Shrank. Look at that, and that's without any exercise. Now you can think it's Photoshopped, you can think it's AI, but we don't need to do anything like that. I'll show you why in just a moment. Then this is the daughter. The next picture is the daughter of a friend of mine. And I would say that a lot of you, I'd love for you to put in the comment, is this the same woman? Is that the same woman? 60 pounds in 3 months. That's 20 pounds a month for 3 straight months, or 5 pounds a week for 3 straight months with no exercise. So is it the same woman? I'd love for anybody to put in the chat. What do you think? Same woman? Did we fake you? Are we lying to you? Is it, if you think we're lying to us, then you're on the wrong podcast right away. Because the only thing we deal in are facts. I'm holding the 10 peer-reviewed human trial medical studies in my hand. They're in the public domain. They're in the public record. They can't be edited. They can't be changed in any way. This is published in the biggest medical journals in the world, and all the researchers telling the people who invented this, you've cracked the code for obesity and weight loss. Well, what do you think about that? How about 60 pounds in 3 months, everybody? The Reed Shanes, Lynette, D.I. Katz, Spring Pilates, Eddie, MJ joined us, Halligan, Dave, Julian. So how do we do this? I promise, Jenny, give me just less than a minute. I'm going to show you just 2 more, and I'll show all of you exactly how and what they did. Now, this last picture I want to show you, it's of an older gentleman, okay? Wait till you see what he did. How about 40 pounds and 52 inches in 30 days? That's 10 pounds a week with no exercise. And that's not the best part of his story. The reason I want to show this, look at his lab work. See it in the green lab work, before, after. A1C, 8.4 to 6.4. Triglycerides, 242 to 124. Got it? Now the last picture I'm going to, you'll definitely think this is fake. It's not, though. Jeff lost an astounding 70 pounds and 54 inches in 30 days. I know you're all going sideways now, going, no, that's fake. That's not real. No, it's real. It's real. And to show you how serious we are about this, you notice right above his name in blue there, the new health conversation. It's a free medical website where you can go. We will not contact you. But if you do go there and if you like what you see, you'll notice it says right above free coaching. You get coached for free the whole time. There's no gimmicks. There's no cost. No. Okay? So now let's talk about how in the world did this come about. The first thing I have to tell you is that counting calories is over, it's finished, it's done. And that's not even me saying that. That's people like Harvard Medical School saying stop counting calories. None of you have given me the definition so far of what a calorie is. So let's put that aside for a moment. But here's the problem if you're counting calories. The human body has no idea what a calorie is. It doesn't give a darn about a calorie. It could care less about calories. So the researchers, after 40 years, 100 studies, thousands of people doing calories in, calories out, the usual stuff, diet, exercise, whatever, they just came to a conclusion. No diet they ever tested in 40 years ever worked long term. So they said we need to do something different. So here's a couple things I want to teach you immediately. The most important thing to all of us has nothing to do with calories. It has to do with a minimum amount of nutrition that we need in order to run all our organs, our brain, our heart, our kidney, our liver, etc. Got it? When you go on a diet, what are you really doing? You're reducing the amount of food you're consuming. So by definition, what else you're reducing? The amount of nutrition. When your brain figures out there's not enough nutrition to run everything, it stops accessing the fuel in your fat cells and turns actually to your muscles for fuel. This is proven. So 25 to 40%, it turns out, of every pound you've lost on your diets is lean muscle mass. Well, when the brain realizes there's not enough fuel and it shuts down the access of fuel from fat cells, it starts to burn your muscles for fuel. Now, then what happens? Well, 2 of the most unhealthy things you're doing to yourself, not for yourself. Number 1, it slows down your metabolism. You all know you've experienced that. You lose weight like gangbusters maybe initially, and then all of a sudden it begins to slow, then it's a crawl, then all of a sudden you're plateaued. No matter what you do, you can't lose any more weight. You come off the diet, you gain everything back and said, oh, that diet didn't work, now you look for another diet. But the other thing it's doing to you by losing lean muscle, this is the most scary thing, it also absolutely lowers your own immune system. So the very diet you're on now, maybe for summer, you want to look good in your shorts, your bikini, it's whatever, 4th of July, doesn't matter. You are absolutely making yourself unhealthy by counting calories. So the researchers said, wait a minute, we got to do something different. And what they did was this. They said, can we find foods? We're going to go find foods, if they're out there, with higher levels of nutrition, even though it's lower quantities of food. So 30% of what she got, you'd get, everybody gets, it's food, everybody. They gave a grocery list that the researchers picked out: proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, and fruits. And instead of giving her calorie counts, they gave her serving sizes. Very important. Okay, now what about the other 70% of the food she was going to eat in a month? Well, the researchers found other researchers who for 20 years had gone around the world to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, to find foods with huge amounts of nutrition, but small quantities of food. So that was the total amount of food she was going to consume in a month: 30% from the grocery store, fats, proteins, carbs, vegetables, and fruits, and these exotic foods from around the world from these exotic locations. Some of the locations and some of the nutrients they found were people who had been living to be like 100 years old and not getting sick. I'm kind of interested in that, right? So then they put together two new ways of consuming these new foods. 5 days a week, she had 4 meals a day. Intermittent fasting alpha is completely terrible. I'm going to show you in a moment. It's the worst thing you could ever possibly do. I'll show you the medical proof to back up what I'm saying. Okay, so don't worry about that yet. So basically what they did, 5 days a week, she had 4 meals a day. Notice, 4 meals a day. You have to understand that what they discovered, unlike intermittent fasting, which is time restricted, where you don't eat for 16 hours, you eat for 8, it's really important that you fuel your body over a period of time with nutrition. They proved it, okay? They proved it. There's no intermittent, time-restricted eating is one of the most crazy things that's come out. It's just a low-calorie diet. We'll get to that, I promise, but let me finish this. So 5 days a week, 4 meals a day. What were the 4 meals? She started with these exotic foods around the world. That was breakfast, meal 1. Meal 2, lunch from the grocery store list. Meal 3 from the grocery store list, dinner. And then a 4th meal after dinner. So she was having 4 meals a day, 5 days a week. 2 days a week. Now this is going to blow your mind. She did, listen to me carefully, everybody, intermittent nutritional fasting, not time restricted eating, not fasting, not water fasting, none of that nonsense. On those days, no food from the grocery store, but listen to this. They let her eat these exotic foods around the world 8 times a day. She was eating about every hour and a half. And that's what the researchers proved. It wasn't just how much nutrition you were getting, et cetera. It was how did you spread it out so that the body used it in the most efficient way. Well, look at the proof. Look at her stomach. You think that happens on time-restricted eating in 30 days, 21 pounds and 30 inches? 38 inches? It's not even, it's just a joke. This is not a joke, this is real. And you got to understand that time-restricted eating stuff, what they call intermittent, there's different forms, but the main one is you don't eat for 16 hours, you eat for 8. I'm assuming, Alpha Jenny, that's what you were talking about, was time-restricted eating. I promise in a moment I'll get to it. Now again, I'm not disparaging anything, I'm showing you the medical proof. Here, you have 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies. When did any of you ever lose 21 pounds in a month with no exercise? But look at her from her hips up. Can you see that, Jenny? Look at how much she shrank. That's with no exercise. Okay. So does everybody understand that part? Because that's only the beginning, okay? Here's the part that's so amazing. That picture's 8 or 9 years old. They've kept the weight off for 8 or 9 years. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks, Jenny. I've kept it off for 23 years. That's why this protocol is called R2M, Race to Maintenance. Because the key to this is not a question, can we get the weight off you? You can see it there. It's keeping it off. And that's what we teach you. All these, listen, I mean, you don't have to, I'll just read real quickly, everybody, the failure of diets. This is Medicare's newest big study. Medicare, title, Medicare's search for effective obesity treatments. Diets are not the answer. They're saying all diets are not the answer. Listen to this. The researchers reviewed studies of long-term outcomes of calorie-restricted diets and all diets to assess whether dieting is an effective treatment for obesity. The studies show that 2/3 of dieters regain more weight than they lost on any diet. In summary, there's little support for the notion that diets lead to lasting weight loss or health benefits. What are you all doing? Okay, Jenny, okay, so everybody understand. So let's just review real quickly. The key to this was that the researchers were able to give people less food but more nutrition. And then they created completely new ways of eating that no one had ever done before. Well, imagine being on a diet, having 4 meals a day. 4 meals a day, really? Really? Or you've never even heard the term before, intermittent nutritional fasting, not time restricted eating, not water fasting. And she got to eat 8 times a day. No one was hungry. The medical results were amazing. At the end of 30 days, people's hunger went down 41%. You know how hungry you are on a diet after after a couple of weeks, you're ready to eat your couch, for crying out loud. This is going to change everything. And again, you really think you'd be on the cover of Women's World, the number one women's magazine in the world, if this wasn't real and they didn't proof it? Of course they did. They don't need to risk their reputation because there's no revenue for them by putting that on the cover. They treat it like a news story, which it is, right? Now let's talk about this ridiculous time-restricted eating here. Let me find the study for you here. Hold on just a second. Okay, so Jenny, this is in the Journal of the American Medical Association. I actually have 2 studies I'm going to show you about this time-restricted eating nonsense, okay? This is Journal of American Medical Association. Listen to this, Jenny. This was a 3-month study. The Journal of the American Medical Association, new research found that overweight adults who were assigned to routinely fast 16 hours daily over the course of 3 months gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost an average of 2 to 3.5 pounds. And most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. There you go. Making yourself unhealthy. When you lose lean muscle mass, you're becoming unhealthy, period. Now, if that's not enough, let's go to another big study on time-restricted eating in the Annals of Internal Medicine. This, again, was a 3-month study. This time, they took one group of people, had them fast 16 hours a day, eat 8. The other group just lowered calories. At the end of 3 months, the average weight loss by time-restricted eating was 4.6 pounds. The people who simply lowered calories lost 5.2 pounds. And they said in the study, any suggestion that time-restricted eating, the results of time-restricted eating have any success other than lowering calories is completely wrong. They're saying it doesn't work. It's just another diet. I know they tell you that, oh, we can eat kind of whatever you want during that 8-hour window. Nonsense. It's a diet. And the only way it worked was people were reducing the quantity of food they were consuming. And what happened? I read to you. Listen to that. The most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. Did you know that, Jenny, before you went on that stupid thing? Not your fault. We're getting hogwashed. Why aren't they showing you the truth? It doesn't work. None of these diets work. I mean, my God, when Medicare is telling you that they don't work. But here's the other thing. Let me read the medical proof to you. Here's why counting calories can't possibly work. And I still have not seen anybody give me the definition of a calorie. Why are you all counting calories? Really? Why are you counting calories? You don't even know what a calorie is. What are we doing? We've been brainwashed. But let's look at the medical proof. The biggest failing of the calories in, calories out formula is it ignores that the body adjusts its control system when calorie intake is reduced. So while the formula, calories in, calories out, can support people achieving weight loss initially, the reduction in energy intake ensures the lost weight will be regained and more. So whatever diet you're on now, 2/3 are going to weigh more than when you started. I'm not making this stuff up. You might wonder, who the heck is this guy? Well, I've been a nutrition researcher for 23 years. I've written 4 best-selling books with some of the biggest medical doctors in the world. I did 20 shows on PBS. I've lectured over 1,500 times in person in hospitals and universities. I was a keynote speaker at Autism One in Chicago, one of the largest autism conferences in the world, 2 years in a row. But it doesn't give me pleasure to bring this to you. But don't you at least have a right to know that this is all complete and utter nonsense? That whatever diet you're on, according to all the experts, 2/3 you're going to end up weighing more. You'd be better off not going on a diet in the first place. Does that make sense? Okay, Eric, I promise I'm going to tell you in 1 second. So again, Jenny, Jenny, does that make sense? Please comment. What do we recommend to lose weight for older women? Well, look at this, older women. This is the cover of Women's World. It just came out June 9th. You can still probably buy it on the newsstand. Talk about older women. The daughter is 57 years old, lost 50 pounds in 3 months. The mom is 80. She lost 90 pounds in 9 months. They both kept it off. Both kept it off now for over 2 years. You see what it says, over 50 protein miracle. That's what they're calling it. This is the cover of the #1 women's magazine in the world. Do you think you'd be on this cover if it didn't work? So let's talk about what they did. How does it work? But before I do that, and Jenny, you understand I'm not being, please don't feel like I'm being disparaging to you. It makes me angry that these people are telling people things with not one shred of medical evidence behind it. They're just opinions. And the medical, it's clear. If they, see, but they don't want to tell you the truth. Why would you go, seriously, would you have done time-restricted eating if you knew that on average people lose 2 to 3 pounds and the majority of that loss is your muscle, not fat? Because you're being told it's fat loss. There's no such thing, by the way. There's no such thing as burning fat. You're born with a certain number of fat cells. We die with a certain number of fat cells. And those fat cells do 2 things over your life. They either expand or contract. And everybody argues. They keep telling you, oh, go on this diet, you're going to burn fat. No, you're not. That's a lie. Oh, go exercise, you're going to burn fat. No, that's a lie. I mean, this is just science. What I love so much about science, it doesn't have any opinions. It has no emotions. It has no opinion. It's just the science is the science. So let's go over again, what in the world did she do, right? So Keat Kat and all these people want to know, where do we go to start? I'd rather hear the harsh truth. Okay, Alpha, definitely it would have. All right. So let me review again. The reason that diets don't work is you're all focused on calories and you don't even know what a calorie is. That's not your fault. That's what we've been told, right? The calorie is meaningless to your body. Your body has no idea what a calorie is, doesn't give a darn about a calorie. The researchers, after 40 years, 100 studies, and they're the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world. Not me. I didn't invent this. I'm the researcher of the researchers. We're bringing you the proof, right? With 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies. So what they figured out, here's why diets can't possibly work. We all run on a minimum amount, not of calories, of nutrition. When you go on a diet, think about what you do. You reduce the quantity of food you're consuming. I don't care what diet you go on, at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. When that occurs, the brain figures out there's not enough nutrition to run all the organs, including the brain. So what does the brain do? It has no choice. It stops the access to the energy inside your fat cells and turns to your muscles for fuel because it's in starvation mode. And fat is survival. It's the storage, right? So what happens is the body begins to use your muscles for fat. Guess what happens? Yes, you lose weight initially. No one's arguing that. But as you know, the weight loss slows down to a trickle. Then all of a sudden you stop. Now you're on a plateau and you get frustrated, quit the diet, and you gain it all back. The yo-yo effect. You all know that I'm right. I mean, that's what's happening, right? So the problem is that not only do you slow down your metabolism when you lose lean muscle, you slow down your own immune system. So by you going on these diets, I don't care what the name is, you're actually losing lean muscle. 25 to 40% of what you're losing is lean muscle mass, which slows down your metabolism and slows down your immune system. So the researchers said, wait a minute, there has to be a different way. So what they did, they said, we set out to give you less food, but increase the amount of nutrition. How the heck did they do that? Well, here's how they did it. They created a food list that you would get. You'd literally take it to your grocery store, all organic, of course, but proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, and fruits. But instead of giving you or them calorie counts, they gave you serving sizes because the researchers, who are the top people in the world, were figuring out we wanted to give you enough nutrition. We had to make sure that we didn't give you too little food and then you go in starvation mode. So they looked and put these food groups. But notice only 30% of what she consumed or what you'd consume in a month, you'd take to the grocery store. What about the other 70%? Aha. Let's be clear. The researchers have no products. They don't sell anything. We don't sell anything because there aren't any products. This is food. But the other 70% of the food that you would buy comes from these other researchers, not the ones who created this protocol. And those researchers had gone around the world for 20 years to places like Russia and Mongolia and Tibet and South America, New Zealand, to find foods in those regions that had huge amounts of nutrition, but small amounts of quantity. Our food in this country 150 years ago used to have lots of nutrition. But over the years, through farming and not rotating the crops, the levels of nutrition has continued to drop, okay? So the researchers, they said it would never work with regular food because they kind of tried this with regular food and people lost lean muscle. So once they had the foods, 30% from the grocery store, and these other exotic foods around the world, then they developed 2 new ways of eating, never done before. The first one is called protein pacing. where 5 days a week, wait till you hear this, you have 4 meals a day. See, right away on a diet, you're frightened because I'm telling you 4 meals. Oh my God, no, I want to skip a meal. No, there's no skipping meals. Now, what they miss when something like, say, time-restricted eating, the research has proved that it wasn't just giving you enough nutrition, it was pacing it. That's why it's called protein pacing. So effectively, breakfast from these exotic foods around the world, lunch from the grocery store list, dinner from the grocery store list, and a 4th meal after dinner, and it's all laid on a time frame. It really is important whatever time you get up in the morning. And the coach, you get coached for free on this, by the way, free. Did you hear me? Coaching's free. And they're going to show you exactly what to eat, when to eat, etc. Now, they're not, let me find it here so you all can see this. Here it is. The research, not us, we didn't put this together, but the research is put together. It's called the Blueprint for Success, which you also get for free. Those yellows are daily tutorial videos from the researchers explaining to you exactly what to do, and hopefully you can read that. You get the recommended daily schedules, the recommended food list, but also those little squares, those are daily videos from the researchers explaining to you why this works. Now, why would they do that? They don't sell anything, no financial benefit. Because they wanted to ensure that their research, which they spent 40 years of their lives to get, they wanted to make it available to as many people as possible so you didn't have to go into a clinical study, all right? So I know it sounds too good to be true, but look at that, everybody. 21 pounds, 38 inches with no exercise. But here's the other good part. The key to this is not that we can get the weight off you. That's like, for us, that's like a throw-in. The key for us is to show you how to keep it off for the rest of your life. Look, I'm telling you, this magazine article just only came out on the 9th, so what was that? Came out 4 days ago, and already, people are going nuts over that. As a matter of fact, I think it's sold out in most places because this is what they've been waiting for. But it's a 2-page news story inside, New Protein Miracle Diet. That's not the researchers writing that article. That's Women's World is the #1 women's magazine in the world. This should give you the assurance that this is real. But there's even a better part. Wait till you hear this. Yes, 30% of the food you're going to buy in a month you get from your grocery store. But the 70% of the food you buy from not from us or the researchers, in the first 30 days, if this doesn't work, they'll give you all your money back. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you the website where you can go to see the medical proof and you can get a free coach. And it'll say right on there, 100% money back guarantee. That's what they're referring to. So 70% of what you'd spend in a month, and people always ask me, well, how expensive is it? Oh my God, they're shipping stuff from Bangladesh or from Tibet or whatever. Yeah, but you're buying it directly from those suppliers. There's no middleman. So people feel like their total food, what they spend, is probably pretty close to what you spent last month on food that isn't even the same category as this stuff, right? So let's take a look at where you can go to find out more. Right above, and by the way, that's not fake. He really lost 70 pounds and 54 inches in 30 days. I know it seems crazy, but that is real. But right above his head, you can see in blue, The New Health Conversation. The New Health Conversation. That's the free medical website where you can go. We will not contact you. If you go to that website, please, everybody write it down, or those who want to go and learn more. There's even an interview. Now, this is the most important thing on there. There's an interview with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world, the #1 rated, who he and his team created this. And in that podcast, he explains to you why they will never recommend any form of traditional diet again. They tested them all for 40 years and they never found one that worked. So they created one that works, but it's not even a diet. As you learned, it's food. And then completely new eating patterns, because the key is getting that nutrition spread out. I understand it's hard to believe that but now here's the thing. This is gonna blow your minds. This is the daughter of a friend of mine. It's not Photoshop. How about 60 pounds in 3 months? Look at her face, look at her arms, look at her stomach area. Where's the loose skin? Where's the loose skin, everybody? On the website, there were before and afters of people lost 100 pounds, no loose skin. This is not a diet. It doesn't work anything like that. So I'm totally open. Yap. When we're asking, where do we start? Well, didn't I show you Akola? Sorry, wrong pronunciation. It's not hard to believe our food is so lacking. Yes, Michael, you're exactly right. And the other thing that I want to make you all aware of is the other thing that they did In these studies, they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis. Why? Because everybody, including me and everybody on here, has this medical syndrome called TDOS. T for toxicity, D for nutritional deficiency, exactly what you're saying, overweight and stress. It's a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office. Peter Greenlaw, oh, that's me. I did discover it, but that's not what matters. What we're all doing, whether you know it or not, you're breathing, drinking, eating chemicals on a daily basis. And your body takes that chemical and stuffs it inside your fat cells. That's why people complain to us, not just how much weight they've gained, but how much fat they have, especially around the abdomen areas. That's why if you look at her picture, the before and after, or if we go back and look at Kristen, look at her stomach, look at her hips, look at that from day 1 to day 30 with no exercise. Well, the researchers did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis proving that this was helping the body get rid of the chemicals, and that's why she shrank. That's why all those pictures are like that. Or if we look at this older gentleman, look at his stomach. That's with no exercise. He's an older guy. He lost 40 pounds and 52 inches in 30 days. And look at his blood work. His A1C went from 8.4 to 6.4. His triglycerides from 242 to 124. I mean, some of you may find this boring, but this is the reality. This works. Science sometimes is boring, but the only thing you should care about is look at the result. Anybody on this podcast right now thinking that you've ever seen anything like this? Excuse me, I'd love for you to put it in the chat. Yeah, I need my fat cells to contract. Well, you see that it's happening there, right? And then this is a wonderful story. Wait till I show you this picture. 200 pounds in less than a year. Where's the loose skin? Look at that. She didn't have surgery. She did not have surgery. I mean, you think her life's different? 200 pounds? Now, what I want to show you next is what happens if you work out. Because, again, let me go back to this. Like Kristen, all of them, none of them were allowed to work out because the researchers didn't want exercise to be an outlier. Otherwise, you'd say, oh, they lost weight because it was diet and exercise. No, it wasn't diet and exercise. They actually wore Fitbits to prove they weren't exercising, if that makes sense to you. So I'm sure some of you have questions. Oh, also, if you can tap on the screen, we have 340 likes so far. Let's get this thing going, because I'm gonna stay on for a while. Maybe some of you wish I would shut up. But it's not about yapping, okay? Someone was saying that. I'm a nutritional researcher for 23 years. This is a solution that everybody's been looking for literally well over 100 years. And these researchers found it. Okay, what is the method? You must have come on late. That's great. I'm gonna go over it again. So for all of you, let's review one more time. And I promise Bodica Betsy was some methods. So what's going on then? Okay, Coco, hold on one moment. I want to show the people that have already heard me say it. Just to reiterate, you can go to that website right there in blue. See, right above his head, the new health conversation. Oh, by the way, look at that. He lost 70 pounds and 54 inches in 30 days. It's not photoshopped, and that is absolutely real. But for everybody else, see the new health conversation. It's a free medical website. We will not contact if you go there, but if you like what you see, you can scroll down. You get a free coach. Okay, so let's come back to everybody that's wanting to know, how did she do that? Let me give you the simple version. The problem with all diets, I don't care what diet you're on, is some form of counting calories. The human body has no idea what a calorie is. Your body does not run on calories. It doesn't desire calories. It only works on one principle, a minimum amount of nutrition. It doesn't give a darn about the calories. You need to give it enough nutrition. What happens on a diet, think about it. You go on a diet, you lower the amount of food you're consuming, you lower the amount of nutrition. When that happens, the brain begins to turn your muscles into fuel, slowing down your metabolism. That's why you're all gaining all this weight back, and that's not my opinion. Even big studies say that 2/3 of you will gain more weight than you lost on any diet that's ever been studied, right? So the researchers that created this, who are the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world for 40 years, they did over 100 studies, thousands of people. Every diet failed them in the long run. They said, their new approach was, we want to give people less food, but we want to increase nutrition. But we've got to find foods that aren't based on calorie content. We got to base them on nutritional density. So they developed a food list. Only 30% of what she consumed in a month came from organic food from the list that these researchers created, not us, them. You go to the grocery store, proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables, but a very specific list of which foods they want you to eat. And instead of giving you calorie counts, they give you serving sizes. Got it? So 30% of what she can, there's no product here. This is food, okay? Let's zero in on this. We don't sell you anything. The researchers don't sell you anything. You're going to go to your grocery store, 30% of what you're going to consume comes from the grocery store from this very specific list that they've created. The other 70% comes from other researchers who had gone around the world for 20 years finding foods with huge amounts of nutrition, but small quantities, relatively small quantities. And they came from places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand. And they represented huge amounts of nutrition, which is the only thing your body cares about. So then, based on 30% of the food from the grocery store and 70% from these exotic foods, they developed the eating pattern. Let's call it a recipe. Okay, that'll make it easier for you. 5 days a week, she had 4 meals a day. Yep, 4 meals a day. Started with these exotic foods around the world. That was breakfast. Lunch, meal number 2 from the grocery, only foods from the grocery store. Meal number 3, dinner from the grocery store. And a 4th meal after dinner, these exotic foods around the world. So 5 days a week, she's having 4 meals a day. That's called protein pacing. It's actually patented by these researchers. And they don't sell anything. But they're giving us a gift, all right? 2 days a week out of 7, she did something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not water fasting, not time-restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods from around the world, but this time they let her eat 8 times a day. She was eating about every hour and a half. Nobody was hungry. We have people that weigh 600 pounds that did this and they were shocked they weren't hungry. Because for the first time ever, they weren't relying on stupid calories, which the body doesn't even know what it is. They were relying on the amount of nutrition that they needed for the body, for the brain to feel like there's enough fuel, so it didn't have to go in starvation mode and turn to your muscles for fuel. Well, look at the results. Look at the results. Are you trying to tell me any diet you've ever seen, 21 pounds, 38 inches in a month with no exercise, and the picture's 8 or 9 years old and she's kept the weight off for 8 or 9 years? Or my friend's daughter, 60 pounds in 3 months? You trying to tell me any diet you've ever seen to do? Look at her face, look at her arms, look at her body. Now, you can think we fake. There's no reason. That's my friend's daughter. I mean, I guess you could think anything that I would fake it. There's no reason. We don't have to fake anything because we have going for us, first of all, these 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies that are on the website that you can go and see, but also June 9th, this just came out. Women's World, the #1 women's magazine in the world, featured this big news story about this over 50 protein miracle. It's not an ad. They did a news story on this protocol. I mean, what diet do any of you think works long term? I'd love for you to know, because all the medical research says no, none of them work long term. So, cocoa and bodhisattva, did that make sense? Foods such as cocoa. What's the diet? Sorry, just got here. It's not a diet, Bree, first of all. It's not a diet, even though they called it a diet. So we'll come back to that in one moment. So, yeah, so, okay, like what foods? Okay, so first of all, I already told you that 30% of the food would be protein, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables that they picked. The other 70 from these. Now, you have to understand that food, it's not always about chewing something. It's about being able to ingest nutrients. So some of the foods that they took from these faraway places in Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, the people maybe drank it as a tea, or they drank it in water, or it was chewable, but it was totally based. So it wasn't like, here's some more kale, or here's some more spinach, or here's some more steak. It didn't work like that. And so that's what you need to get taught. Get the definition of food out of your mind for a moment. I know we eat food because it tastes good, but the only reason to eat food as far as your body's concerned is nutrition, okay? So the foods, I'll give you an example. One of the things we're the most deficient in our food in North America are trace ionic minerals. Now, you've all heard of iron, calcium, magnesium. We need 70 of these little minerals. And the best organic you can get in the United States, you get 20 minerals out of 70. It doesn't matter how much you eat, you still have 20. What about the other 50 you need? You just don't get them. So what are trace minerals? They're things like, believe it or not, gold and silver and zinc and beryllium and boron and molybdenum and selenium. Well, the researchers, one of these food sources had all 70 trace minerals. One of the food sources had 21 naturally occurring vitamins, not a capsule. There's no pill. There's no product here. This is food, okay? So I wanted to address Bree. What just happened? Something happened here. Hold on. What's going on? Whoa, 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 whoa. So hold on, hold on. What's happening? I don't know what's happening, but okay. So the point is, let me explain something to you. So I fast 5 days a week, but not strict. I've lost 70 pounds in 6 years and no weight gain. Well, JSB, that's really great, but um, she lost 60 pounds in 3 months. How do you compare that? And she wasn't. Yeah, but look, okay, but it took you 6 years. She lost it in 3 months. I understand you're having trouble wrapping your head around this, but listen, if you fast, you're going to get mad at me when I tell you this, but scientific, if you fast more than 22 hours, the next 4 days, basically what you're using for fuel is your lean muscle mass. Sorry to tell you that, that's the reality. But look at her, right? So Bree, what's the diet? Sorry, I just got here. It's not a diet. So let's talk about what she did. So Bree, what they did, the researchers figured out that counting calories didn't work. They'd done 40 years, 100 research. They'd done fasting. They'd done every kind of diet out there. The key to this was that the body only runs on nutrition, a minimum amount. And when you go on a diet, Bree, or when you're fasting like you do JSB, you're giving yourself, well, if you're fasting, you're getting basically no food at all, right? But what you have to understand, you're depriving your body of the fuel that runs all your organs, your brain, your heart, your kidney, your liver. It doesn't run on water, okay? And what happens is, as the brain senses within about 22 hours, there's not enough fuel, it'll turn to your muscles for fuel. That's what it does. It's not up for debate. In so doing, not only does it slow down your metabolism, okay, but it also slows down your own immune system. So by doing what you're doing, you're actually making, in the long run, you're making yourself unhealthy compared to losing 60 pounds in 3 months and getting massive amounts of nutrition. So Bree, what they did, they figured foods, they went after food groups with large amounts of nutrition and small amounts of food. That's kind of what they did. So 30% of what she consumed, she got a grocery list from the grocery store, proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, and fruits. But instead of giving her calorie amounts, they gave her serving sizes. So she was still consuming less food, quantity of food, but way higher degrees of nutrition, but only 30% of what she ate. Now, here's what all of you would be excited about. The researchers found other researchers who for over 20 years had gone around the world to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, find foods with huge amounts of nutrition, but small amounts of food. So now they had the two different combinations of 30% of the food you consume would come from your grocery store and 70% from these exotic foods. Then 5 days a week, they had her have 4 meals a day. You heard me, she ate 4 times a day. Because they also found out that one of the most critical parts to health and weight management was not just how much food or how much nutrition you got, but when you got it, how it was spaced out. So the body would be efficient. It would keep it in harmony. It's called homeostasis, actually, but just in layman's terms, just in balance, right? So 5 days a week, she started with these exotic foods for breakfast. Meal number 1. Meal number 2 from the grocery store list. Meal number 3 from the grocery store list. And a 4th meal after dinner, these exotic foods from around the world. Then 2 days a week. Now, you'll like this part, Bree. Who was asking me about that? JSB. She did, now this will blow your mind, she did intermittent nutritional fasting. Notice the word nutritional. No food from the grocery store at all, only these exotic foods, but in this case, JSB, they let her eat 8 times a day. She was fasting with nutrition. But these foods that they use from around the world were tiny amounts of quantity, but huge amounts of nutrition. So you created the fasting impact without going into starvation mode. And not only didn't she lose lean muscle, they measured she gained 6 to 9% lean muscle with no exercise. So did look at Kristen. Look at that, 20 pounds in a month, 20 pounds in a month. She's not fasting 5 days, water fasting 5 days a week. She's living her life, and she's kept the weight off now for 9 years. They all have. That's why it's called R2M, race to maintenance. So does anybody have any questions? Okay, there's no, JSB, sorry to tell you, there's no such thing as losing fat. It's a medical impossibility. You're born with a certain, Google it. You're born with a certain number of fat cells, you die with a certain number of fat cells, that's it. So anybody telling you you're losing fat and they're measuring, they're making it up. Medically, you do not, there's no such thing as reducing the number of fat cells you have. I don't care if you exercise, starve yourself, do whatever you want to do. So there's a big problem right there. Google it, everybody, you can Google it. There's no way. You're born with a certain number of fat cells, you die with a certain, now they can expand or contract, But that's not losing the number of fat cells, just to be clear, okay? Okay, Rymans, what are the exotic foods? Well, I was talking before. It's not the food itself, it's what's in those foods. Things like 70, well, back up. One of the things we're the most deficient in, Rymans, is what are called trace ionic minerals. Now, I'm not talking about magnesium and chromium and things like that. I'm talking about these tiny little minerals, things like gold and silver and zinc and beryllium and boron and selenium and molybdenum. We need 70. And to give you an idea, Rymans, in the best organic you can find in this country, you get 20 out of 70. So it doesn't matter how much you eat, you're still getting the same 20. Well, the researchers found food sources that had all 70 minerals. They also found other food sources that had 21 naturally occurring vitamins. See, there's no pills, potions, lotions, there's no products. This is food. And the thing we have to understand about food, I know we eat it because it tastes good. Only reason we eat food is for the nutritional content. So when I talk about these exotic foods, I'm really talking about these one of two things. One, huge amounts of nutrients, or nutrients that don't exist in North America. I'll give you an example. So some of the ingredients come from Mongolia, and those ingredients have been proven to lower stress in your body. That's a really good thing. Some of the other ingredients that come from Tibet and the Himalayas and Nepal have been proven to lower inflammation, because in the studies, first time ever, they measured inflammation, which is the underlying cause of every disease out there. It came down 25% in 30 days. 25% in 30 days. No one's ever seen anything like that before. No diet can compete with this. But here's the big one. That the water fasting, any of those things you want to be doing, here's what destroys that argument. This medical syndrome is now a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office. It's called TDOS. T for toxicity, D for nutrition deficiency, O for being overweight, S is for stress. Yeah, I did discover it. What it means is, I don't care what you're doing, you're breathing, you're drinking, you're eating chemicals, herbicides and pesticides and all the stuff in our world. Plus, we now know, go look it up, from 5 weeks ago, we're now storing microplastics in our brain and in our coronary arteries. No fast, no diet has ever been proven to remove a gram of toxin from the body until now. These researchers did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis proving that this was assisting the body in removing chemicals. That's why she shrank. Look at day 1, day 30. She didn't lose any fat cells, but see, what the body does to protect us is a chemical comes in the body takes the chemical and stuffs it in the fat cell, and the fat cell expands. That's what happens, okay? But if you can remove the chemical from the fat cells shrink. So that's why, with all due respect, there's no such thing as burning fat. It's just complete and utter nonsense. You have the same number of fat cells you're born with and you die with. As a matter of fact, you actually turn over about 10% a year to be correct, but we replace, as soon as you lose one, the body replaces it. So the total number doesn't change, okay? Just to let you know. So this idea about people going, well, I burned fat. No, you didn't. Maybe they shrank, that's okay. But you didn't do anything to detox. There's never been a study on any diet, including fasting, ever showing it removes any chemicals from our body. I mean, if we're storing microplastics in our brain and in our coronary arteries, what else do you think we're storing in your body? I know, herbicides and pesticides and Scotchgard and Teflon and flame retardants and all these chemicals in our world. You think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden, we're in desperate straits in this whole world. There's 1 billion people now clinically obese. Does that sound like diets are working? And, for religious reasons, people fast. That's great. But now some of the areas in the world where people even do that, my God, 1 billion people clinically obese around the world. Does that sound to you like diets are working? They're not. We've lost the battle. We've completely lost the battle until now. And like I said, you don't get on the cover of Women's World magazine, the #1 women's magazine in the world, if this wasn't real. What would they have to gain by doing that? They don't get paid. They wrote this as a news story for them. So you understand it's all safe. Okay, Ryman, so here you go, Ryman. Look. You see right above his head in blue there, the new, by the way, everybody, look at that, 70 pounds and 54 inches in a month. It's real, it's not photoshopped, it's real. Now, granted, that's the most I've ever seen in 23 years is what he did, but that's real. But in blue, do you see it there, Ryman's, the new health conversation? Give me a yes that you see it. That is where all the medical proof is. There's nothing to buy there, okay? There's nothing to buy from us, period. But right above it says free coaching. The coaching's free. They'll get you the food list of what you buy from the grocery store and show you how to buy directly. You buy from the suppliers, not from us, those foods from around the world, and then they They teach you this new way of consumption. Free. You see, it says free coaching. I know this sounds going to be true, but we're not letting you do it without a coach. We got coached because how you do it is as critical as what you're going to be consuming. Does that make sense, Ryman's? So Ryman's, yes, you understand. Does everybody understand that's the free medical website to go to the New Health Conversation? It's right there for all of you to go to. No. Yes. Oh, Renee, I'm sorry. You're right. You can reduce fat cells through liposuction and surgery. Sorry. I didn't purposely. I just got so many things going on in my head that I just forgot to say that. That's the only way you can reduce the total number of fat cells in your body is either liposuction or through surgery. But I don't think that's something most people want to do because it's very invasive. I know some women who did it and they're really sorry they did it. It was so damn painful. So all the ads you see on TV like, oh, this is just a breeze. Not really. But yes, you can reduce fat through medical intervention. That's it, but not through exercise, dieting. No, that's no, it's not happening. Okay. So Ryman's, do you understand? I'm leaving that up there so you can see it. The New Health Conversation. Does everybody see that? Now let's look at a couple more things. Okay, just to show you that I'm not making up things. Diets are finished. Here's Harvard Medical School. The title of the study, Stop Counting Calories. This is Harvard Medical School. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not just antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. She goes on to say, drop the calories notion, says Stanford. It's time to concentrate on what's in our food, not how much food we're consuming. See, that's where something like, say, a 5-day fast, it's unbelievably unhealthy. Just telling you, this is Harvard Medical School saying this. And then here's a huge study here. Listen to this one. The science behind why diets don't work. None of this is my opinion. I don't give you opinions. We don't give you claims. We read from medical studies. Listen to this, everybody. Our researchers reviewed more than 30 long-term studies showing that going on any diet actually causes weight gain. The more diets someone has tried, the more they weigh. So not only does dieting not work for long-term weight loss, but it's also associated with increased risk of binge eating, eating disorders, and long-term weight gain. Every study is showing that long-term, 2/3 of you will weigh more than what you did when you started. Now, if that's not enough evidence, let me show you here. This is in my hand, 80 weight loss clinical trials. The researchers compared different forms of dieting, including low-calorie diets. They found that every diet they focused on, they found that people lost weight initially. And the but's everything, but every person's weight steadily rose back to where it was and beyond. This is 80 studies, thousands of people, again, proving that whatever diet you're on now, some form of calorie, it doesn't work. I mean, you can think whatever you want to think. I mean, Johns Hopkins Medical School right here. Study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese by 2030. That's in 4.5 years. 86% of us are going to be overweight or obese. Does that sound to you like whatever diet you're on is going to work long term? Because it isn't. Unless you're some anomaly. And I'm not rooting against you. Our job is not to convince you or sell you because we don't have anything to sell. We got coached. We're willing to teach you how to do this. How did Jeff... Now, granted, that's the most I've ever seen in 23 years. But how about Curtis, an older guy how about 40 pounds? Forget 70. How about 40 pounds in a month and 52 inches? Look at his stomach. But look at his blood work, lab work. A1C, 8.4 to 6.4. Triglycerides, 242 to 124. Do you think that's real, everybody? Do you think we photoshopped it, or do you think it's real? Wow, we're at 880 likes in 54 minutes. That's not, I must not be on my game today. Tap on the screen if you like the content. Let's get some more likes going so we can get up the algorithm. So who else would like to ask me a question? So Ryman's, you never said yes. I'm assuming you understand. You can go to the New Health Conversation and you can see the medical proof and then talk to a coach for free and then decide what you want to do. There's no we don't have anything to sell you. So get that out of the way. And if you go to that website, we won't contact any of you. Let me show you the website again. You can see it right there, the New Health Conversation. That's the free medical website. You can go and see all the proof, and only you get to determine if you want to talk to a coach. We won't contact you. You can contact us. And the coaching is 100% free, not just initially, but showing you how to get the maintenance and keep it off. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks, 23 years ago. I've kept it off for 23 years. So would anybody else like to ask me a question? How in the world did that happen? Is that even possible? Hi, Kit Kat. So we're at 887 likes. Can we get some more taps on the screen? I know probably some of you are making you mad and you think that I'm this insensitive person, right? No, you don't know anything about me. My own mother was morbidly obese my whole life, and part of the reason I hate diet so much is I saw her diet. And 24 years ago, she called me up one day and said, you know, Peter, I have one really big wish in my life. I said, Mom, what's that? She said, I would give anything if I could spend one day thin. I said, wow, Mom, that's cool. Well, 6 months later, massive heart attack and stroke. I loved my mom. It didn't matter how big she was to me. Her heart was the only thing that mattered. I saw my mom do every kind of diet you can imagine. She did the grapefruit diet. She did the cabbage soup diet. She went to Weight Watchers for years. I'd see her go, and we didn't know in those days. She'd lose 4 ounces in a week, and she'd come home with a star. 4 ounces in a week. The bar we've set is so damn low that it's ridiculous. You know why? Because they don't have a solution. There is no solution. So my point is that if you're in a position that you want to be not just losing the weight, but become healthy. See, this is about health. I mean, that's what, and here's Andy, look at this, 45 pounds and 60 inches in a month. And look at his cholesterol, the second one, LDL cholesterol, went from 120 to 59 in 30 days. His A1C went from 7.9 to 6.2, but that LDL cholesterol, look at that, that's unbelievable. You think any diet's ever produced anything like that? Because it hasn't. These they did 100 studies, thousands of people over 40 years. They never saw results like this ever. I had lipo and then had to have hysterectomy and gained 60 pounds. Okay, Kimberly, do you want me to explain? Tell us the secret. Kimberly, do you want to know the secret? How? I got everybody's, okay, let me come back. All right, all of you. Now, first of all, if you weren't on Kimberly or user 586 or whatever, this is, if you can get it, June 9th, this is this is the featured news story on Women's World. You may know it. It's the #1 women's magazine in the world. Look what they said, over 50 protein miracle. That's what I'm going to explain to you right now, which, by the way, there's no products, okay? Kimberly and user, there's no products to buy. So what did they do? How did they, look at her. Kimberly, let me ask you this. How excited would you be if you could lose 20 pounds in a month? Would that excite you? Probably. Great. So anyway, to make a long story short, the researchers figured out after 40 years of research why diets failed. It was really pretty simple. Dieting had nothing to do with counting calories, despite that's what everybody was doing. Your body doesn't give a damn about a calorie, doesn't know what a calorie is. So what happens on diets is, effectively, you're reducing the total quantity of food you're consuming. But what they never tell you is your body runs on a minimum amount of nutrition, not calories. So Kimberly and user, when you do that, when you lower the amount of food, you're also lowering what? Nutrition. When the brain figures out there's not enough nutrition to run the organs, your brain, heart, kidney, liver, etc., what does it do? It stops you from accessing the fuel in your fat cell and turns to your muscles for fuel. And then it does two of the most unhealthy things you could ever do. Number one, it absolutely positively slows down your metabolism. That's why you end up plateauing on these diets and gain everything back, and then you start over with a new diet. But the other thing it's doing too that makes you even more unhealthy, when you lose lean muscle mass, it slows down your metabolism. So the researchers, they said, wait a minute, we're going to do something different. Can we give you less food, Kimberly and user 585, but can we increase nutrition? So they put together food lists. They did it. So 30% of what you would buy and she bought was from the magazine, not the magazine, the grocery store. Proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, and fruits. But instead of giving you calorie counts, they gave you serving sizes. You got that? So, but only 30% of the food. What about the other 70% food in the month? Well, the researchers who have no products, they don't sell anything, they don't have a company, we don't sell you anything. You buy directly from these researchers who for 20 years had gone around the world to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, to find these foods with huge amounts of nutrition, but small quantities of food. So now they had the ingredients, right? They had 30% from the grocery store, proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, and fruits, and these other exotic foods around the world. Then they invented two completely new ways of consuming food because they had totally different kinds of food than they ever had before. So 5 days a week, you would have 4 meals a day. You heard me. You'd start with the world's most perfect these exotic foods around the world. That would be breakfast, lunch from the grocery store, dinner from the grocery store, and a fourth meal after dinner from these exotic foods around the world. So 5 days a week, 4 days, 4 meals a day. That's called protein pacing. Okay. Then 2 days a week, you do something. Now, don't get freaked out when I tell you this. You're doing something revolutionary, completely new, intermittent nutritional fasting, not water fasting, not time restricted eating. In those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods around the world. But listen to this, Kim and 586. You're going to eat 8 times a day. What? Yeah, you're going to eat about every hour and a half. Totally contrary to anything you've ever done before. Because keep in mind, the food you're consuming has tiny amounts of quantity of the food, but huge amounts of nutrition. And because that's the only thing your body cares about, you can make it work. They lost, you understand, at the end of a month, for example, she lost no water weight and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle. Kimberly, look at day one, look at her stomach, and look at her stomach on day 30 with no exercise allowed. They actually wore Fitbits to prove they weren't exercising. How does that sound to everybody? Kimberly, what do you think about that? Is that just nice? Right. Now, Kimberly and 585 and anybody else that wants to do, I'm going to show you the website you can go to. It's totally free. You see right above his head there in blue, the new health conversation. And by the way, that's real. He really did lose 70 pounds and 54 inches in 30 days with no exercise. I know you think it's fake. It's not. It's real. But the main thing I want to point out to you is all of you, that website is free for you to go, and we will not contact you. So don't think Kimberly and 585, if you go there, we're going to contact you. We don't do that. We rely on the medical proof. If you like what you see, then you scroll down and you see their free coaching to ensure your success. Now, when you go to the website, one of the things they'll say is 100% money back guarantee. Those suppliers that you're 70% of what you're going to spend, yeah, they'll give you all your money back at the end of 30 days. If it didn't work, you didn't like it, doesn't matter. Obviously, the grocery store, they're probably not going to give you. See, what you're doing, you're buying a month's worth of food, but you're learning how to consume it in a totally different way. Now, the other thing that I should tell you that's so exciting is maintenance. How simple is maintenance? That's what I did, like this morning. My breakfast was these exotic foods around the world, and I'll have a lunch and a dinner, and then every couple months I'll do another 48-hour intermittent nutritional fast. Now, why would I do that? Because of this medical syndrome that Kimberly and 585 and I and everybody on the planet has. It's a new medical syndrome called TDOS. What the heck is that? T for toxins, D for nutritional deficiency, O for overweight, S is for stress. It's a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office of a new medical syndrome. Peter Greenlaw, oh, that's me. I did discover it, but that's not what matters. So what we now know that we didn't know is we're breathing, drinking, eating chemicals, and the body's taking the chemical and stuffing it in our fat cells. That's why so many people complain not just about how much weight they've gained, but the amount of fat they have on their body. Well, the body's trying to protect us. So the fat cell, when the chemical is in, expands. But if you can remove the chemical, and they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis proving this is removing chemicals from the body. Isn't that incredible? Don't you want to do that? Would you want to just keep storing these chemicals inside your body? But the reason you've plateaued and the reason you've gained the weight back is you lost lean muscle mass and slowed your metabolism down. It's that easy. Kimberly, so excited. Nice, thank you. This brings me hope. Yes, Kimberly, cortisol will also get removed. Yes, absolutely. Kit Kat, you're 1,000,000% correct. Well, in the studies, wait a minute, they measured inflammation. Wait a minute, Kimberly and Kit Kat. Inflammation is the underlying cause of every disease out there, and it came down 25% in a month. No fasting, no water fasting, no paleo, no diets ever shown any reduction in inflammation, ever. And listen, let me read to you. Oh my gosh, Kit Kat, you're so spot on. I want to share with people. Let me find this study. Where it talks about exactly what you're talking about stress levels. Assuming I can find it here. What do I do with it? I'll find it in just a moment. But here's Medicare. So Kim and 585, Medicare. Medicare's search for effective obesity treatments. Diets are not the answer. This is Medicare saying this, everybody. The Medicare research has reviewed studies of long-term outcomes of calorie-restricted diets to assess whether these diets are an effective treatment for obesity. The study showed that 2/3 of dieters regain more weight than they lost on any diet. In summary, there's little support for the notion that diets lead to lasting weight loss or health benefits. How's that sound? Pretty crazy? I don't know what we're doing here. We're switching all over the place, having problems. So does that make sense? Cortisol will also. So what's happening is that our bodies are reacting to the to this. Oh, this is what I was looking for. So Kit Kat, listen to support what you're saying. Why you shouldn't count calories. The truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. Are you listening, Kim, and also 585? While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse, 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories gain back more weight than they lost. But here's the part to support what you just said, Kit Kat. Counting calories increases chronic psychological stress and cortisol production, two factors that are known to cause weight gain. Kit Kat, you're 1,000,000% on. This lowers cortisol, no question about it. I mean, you have to understand, everyone, we're only sharing with you medical proof. None of this is our opinion. We're not giving you opinions. We're not trying to make you mad at us or disparage what you're doing. But at some point, you kind of have to say, wait a minute, this is not working. Now let's take a look at the shots. Whoa, that's a big thing now, the GLP-1s, right? You got Ozempic and Wegovy, and you got semaglutide and triazepam and all these, right? Now, again, we're not against the shots, because they're helping diabetics and they're helping people who are morbidly obese. But what's the real result? In other words, what really is going on with the weight loss, okay? You can all look this up. It's in the public domain, the New England Journal of Medicine, once weekly semaglutide in adults with overweight or obesity. This was a 68-week study, a year and 4 months. The weight loss after 68 weeks was 32 pounds, and of the 32 pounds people lost, 40% was lean muscle mass. They went on to say this is clinically relevant reductions in body weight. 32 pounds in 68 weeks. Obviously, she didn't get the memo. She lost 21 pounds in a month. Or Curtis, the older gentleman here, 40 pounds in 30 days. Which one would you choose? This is New England Journal of Medicine. All I'm doing is reading. I'm just reading what's in the study. The thing is to prove, another thing to prove why diets are just such miserable failures. This is the Journal of the American Medical Association. This was the 12 months. The title, Comparison of Weight Loss Among Named Diet Programs in Overweight and Obese Adults. Basically what they did, and they listed them all. They listed keto, paleo, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating, fasting, lose weight for your blood type, the Cornish diet, the Zone diet, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem. They looked at all these diets over 12 months and compared the total amount of weight loss in a year, didn't matter what the name of the diet was, to the least amount of weight loss on any diet in a year was 10 ounces difference. 10 ounces. And what was the weight loss in a year? About 16 pounds, and 25 to 40% of what they lost was lean muscle mass. We're just reading the facts. We don't have to make up anything. You trying to tell me any diet you've ever seen would produce, look at his stomach, with no exercise? Really? But we've all been sort of, I don't even fault the people that are telling us that they really believe this. But why don't they go look at the science? You don't have to go to the science. It's Friday, right? So some of you it's already tomorrow, but for us over here, it's still today. We'll go to the malls. We'll go to the beach tomorrow. There you go. Go to the beach and look at America. Go look at people in 1974 on the beach and look at the people in 2024 on the beach. It's a travesty. It's not their fault. Like I said, my mother was morbidly obese my whole life. I never knew her thin. I never knew her healthy. I loved her. She was awesome. I lived through fat shaming. I would never do that. My mom calls me up 24 years ago and says, you know, Peter, I have one really big wish in my life. I said, Mom, what's that? She said, I would give anything if I could spend 24 hours thin. I said, wow, Mom, that's cool. Yeah, well, 6 months later, massive heart attack and stroke. The reason I'm so adamant against diets, my mom, I believe, dieted herself to death. I'd see her lose 20 pounds and gain 25 back. She'd lose 25 and gain 30 back over and over and over again. I mean, obviously I didn't know any of this then, but now I do, and I feel an obligation to at least, my job is not to sell you anything. My job is to make you aware, and that's why I've written 4 best-selling books with some of the top medical doctors in the world. My first book, called Why Diets Are Failing Us, I wrote in 2010, 15 years ago, and everything we talked about in that book now is being backed up by all the medical studies, including Harvard Medical School saying, stop counting calories. That's what we said. By the way, there's no books for sale on the website. No, we're not selling you books. Forget that. I don't want you to buy my books. The medical website has everything you need to see. Kit Kat. Kit Kat, did you not hear me explain how to do this? Because I'll definitely repeat it for you again, Kit Kat. Just confirm that you didn't get to hear what I had said about how they did it. Why did the shots work for my friends but not for me? 1 year on them and less than 10 pounds. Well, Kimberly, it's pretty obvious. But here's the thing, Kimberly, you just watch. Are friends still in the shot? Because our experience is people coming off those shots, Kimberly, they're gaining as much as a half a pound a day. I can tell you what, I'm going to speculate. I'm not your doctor. I don't know. But listen, Kimberly, you just heard me say 40% of what you lost of the 10 pounds was your lean muscle mass, which slowed down your metabolism. Now, it affected you more radically for whatever reason. In other words, you were losing muscle mass even faster. It's not up for debate of people losing lean muscle on these shots. They are losing it. And like I said, Kimberly, are they? Yes, please repeat. I lost connection. Okay. They are on maintenance. My weight wasn't food related. So they're on maintenance, meaning are they still doing the shot or not, Kimberly? Okay, so Kit Kat and everyone's different. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's different. But the point is that when you look at the evidence, when you talk about the New England Journal of Medicine saying that they did the medical study, so this isn't hearsay, this isn't secondhand, right? That up to 40% of what everyone lost was lean muscle because they measured it. It's not something I made up. This is what they're saying. I'm going with the New England Journal of Medicine because anecdotal evidence doesn't matter. Because did they measure lean muscle mass on these people that lost weight on the shots? And we'll see the long-term repercussions. Nobody knows. And I'm not even against the shots, as you heard me say. So let's concentrate on this. Let's concentrate on what we can do for the people that are here that are really interested in changing this, right? So the main flaw, whether it's the shot, whether it's paleo, keto, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating, fasting, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, one simple fact. They're telling you to count calories. One problem, the human body has no idea what a calorie is. Your body, here's how your body works. It works on a minimum amount, not of calories, but on nutrition. And here's why all these diets fail long-term, including this shot, which is apparently failing long-term. Your body runs on that minimum amount of nutrition, and that fuels all your organs, brain, heart, kidney, liver, etc. When you go on a diet, what is the shot doing? It's slowing down the food moving through your digestive tract. You're eating less food. Code word, you're getting less nutrition. Why aren't they telling you this? Why aren't they telling you that? To me, I look at it and go, wait a minute. It's like researchers like so obvious. So the researchers, they did 40 years of studies, 100 studies, thousands of people. Every single diet they ever tested anybody on, 2/3 of the people gained more weight than they lost. So they said, we're doing something wrong. So they said, wait a minute, we need to reverse this. Instead of concentrating on how much food people were consuming, we need to focus on how much nutrition were they getting. So the goal was, can we give you less food but increase nutrition by finding foods that are centered on nutrition? That's what they did. They created a grocery list that you all would get. 30% of what she consumed and you'd consume, you get a grocery list, you take it to the grocery store. Organic, proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, and fruits. But instead of giving you calorie counts, they give you serving sizes. Woo, what a novel concept. No calorie counting, okay? None, 0 calorie counting. So that's 30% of the food. Now here's what really made it work. These researchers who have no products, they don't have a company, they don't sell anything, we don't sell anything. They found these other researchers that for 20 years had gone around the world to Russia, physically had gone to Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, to bring back these let's call it food, but nutrients that were in huge amounts, but very little amount of food. And some of the nutrients they brought back were from areas of the world where people living to be over 100 years old. You've all read those studies. Well, part of it's what the heck they're eating, okay? I'm not saying you're going to live to be 100, so don't hear me say that, but that sounds good to me. I want to try that stuff, right? Okay, so 30% of what she consumed in a month was from her grocery store. The other 70% from these exotic foods around the world, okay? So then they invented new ways of consumption, never done before, okay? Kit Kat, everybody else. 5 days a week, she had 4 meals a day. She started with these exotic foods around the world. That was breakfast, lunch from the grocery store list, dinner, her third meal from the grocery store list, and a fourth meal after dinner, these exotic foods around the world. I know you're on a diet and going, oh my God, you can't eat 4 times a day. Well, with regular food on a diet, yeah, it would never work. But this did work, right? So then 2 days a week, so 5 days a week, 4 meals a day, that's called protein pacing. 2 days a week, she did something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Now, don't throw off and think it's fasting. It's not fasting. It's not water fasting. It's not time restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods around the world. But this time, they let her eat them 8 times a day. What? Yeah, she ate 8 times a day. Now, how could they do that? Because there were tiny amounts of food by quantity that contained huge amounts of nutrients. It was the nutrients that are the only thing that matters to our body. Well, look at the results. 21 pounds, 38 inches in 30 days with no exercise. No one was allowed to exercise. They actually wore Fitbits proving they didn't exercise. Why did the researchers do that? Not because they're against exercise, but they didn't want exercise to be an outlier. In other words, people would have said, well, they lost weight, of course, because they were diet and exercise. No exercise at all. I mean, and the key to this, that picture's about 8 or 9 years old. She's kept the weight off for 8 or 9 years. It's called R2M. That's what the researchers call it, race to maintenance. Because the only thing that really should matter to you is not that you can lose the weight, but can you keep it off for the rest of your life? I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks 23 years ago. I've kept it off for 23 years. That's what should excite you. Now, I'll show you 2 more quick pictures, and then I'll show you where you can find out more if that's what you want to do. Everyone, Julie, 35 pounds in 37 days. The main thing there is look at the change in her body. I'll move out of the way. October 3rd to November 9th, just so you know, the 37 days. But look at that, with no exercise. Where's the loose skin? Her whole body shape changed. Do you all see that? Kim and 5'3", do you see that? Is that amazing? And then this one is the one where everybody thinks I photoshopped it. It's the daughter of a friend of mine. I mean, you can think I'm really that sinister that I'd Photoshop my friend's daughter. I'm not doing that. April, 60 pounds in 3 months. Look at her face, look at her arms, look at her body. Do you believe it's the same woman, or do you think we're nefarious here? We Photoshopped it, or did AI it? I don't know how to do AI anyway. Well, I kind of do, but not this kind of stuff. No, seriously, do anybody? Kit Kat. So Kit Kat, what do you think? Does that excite you? Kit Kat, does that give you hope? And also all of you, including Kit Kat and Ray and everybody else. Yeah, so obesity is caused, yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, Ray, you can look it up in the Lancet, the #1 medical journal in the world, #1. They finished a study in March of 2024. They now estimate 1 billion people worldwide are clinically obese. They went on to say, Ray, these are not, I don't make up things, Ray. They said, making obesity the leading form of malnutrition in the world. So Ray, you're 100% correct. So obesity is caused by, well, obesity is the leading cause of malnutrition. Does that make sense? Because people are eating all these calories with no nutrition, and the body doesn't even know what a calorie is. Compared to this, Ray, but Ray, look at this. 40 pounds in a month, 52 inches, an older guy. Look at his blood work, though, Ray. Look at how it improved. 8.4 to 6.4 triglycerides, 242 to 124. Yeah, Ray, now you can see it, right? Yes. And Linda, have I got enough time to do this? Okay, I'm going to go really fast, Linda, because I was almost done with this podcast. I've already been almost an hour and 20 minutes, and I got to go somewhere. But I will stay and explain to you, Linda. Okay, let's go back and look at Kristen. Okay, so Linda and all of you, and Ray and everybody else, here was the simple principle. The reason diets can't work is really simple. All a diet is forget calorie counting. Your body has no idea what a calorie is. All your body cares about is a minimum amount of nutrition necessary to run all your organs. Follow me, everybody. To run your brain, your kidney, your heart, not calories. It works on nutrition. When you go on a diet, Linda, you lower the amount of food you're consuming. What else are you lowering? Nutrition. When that happens, your brain figures it out and begins to offset the lack of nutrition. It stops accessing the fuel in your fat cell and turns to your muscles for fuel and automatically begins to slow down your metabolism. That's why if you've been on a diet, Linda, you lose weight initially, then it slows down, and then it's a trickle, and then you plateau, and no matter what you do, you can't lose any more weight. You come off the diet, you gain everything back, and you look for a new diet, because they're all based on the wrong principles. So the researchers said we need to do something different. By the people who invented this, by the way, Linda, are the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world, rated the #1. They've done 40 years of research, 100 studies, thousands of people, every diet out there, and came to that same conclusion that no diet ever worked long-term for anybody, or almost nobody. So they said the new focus would be, can we give you less food by quantity, but increase nutrition? That's what they did. They created a grocery list that you would get that she took. Only 30% of what she consumed in a month came from her grocery store, organic, and she got a list of proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, and fruits. But they gave her, instead of calorie counting, Linda, they gave her serving sizes for Ray and everybody else. Is this everybody got that so far? Okay, so that was 30% of what she consumed, and then the other 70% of what she consumed did not come from North America. It came from these other researchers who for 20 years had gone around the world to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, where they found foods with huge amounts of nutrition, but tiny amounts of quantity. That was one of the secrets that people living 100 years old. They didn't need huge amounts of food, they needed huge amounts of nutrition. So those foods or nutrients they used in combination with food from the grocery store. Then they invented 2 new ways of consuming food, Linda and everybody else, Ray. This is what you would do. 5 days a week, you'd have 4 meals a day. What? Yeah. Starting with these exotic foods around the world, that's breakfast. Meal number 2, lunch from the grocery store. Only the foods from the grocery store. Dinner, only the foods from the grocery store. And a 4th meal after dinner, these exotic foods around the world. So 5 days a week, 4 meals a day. That's called protein pacing. That's patented, by the way, by the researchers who don't sell anything. They don't have any products. They don't have a company. We don't sell you anything. Then 2 days a week out of 7, she did something called intermittent nutritional fasting. No, it's not fasting. It's not water fasting. It's not time restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods around the world. But this time they let her eat 8 times a day. All right, am I crazy? Really? No, that's what they did. Because you have to understand the food she was having in those there was small amounts of food by quantity, but huge amounts of nutrients. And there's the results. 21 pounds, 38 inches, no one was allowed to exercise. She actually had to wear a Fitbit to prove she didn't exercise. Now, but she only had 35 pounds to lose. She lost 21 pounds in 30 days. She went on, I think they told me she went on in 7 weeks, she lost about 35 pounds. So she was averaging 5 pounds a week. But here's the key to the whole thing. It's maintenance. That picture's 8 or 9 years old. She's been able to keep the weight off now for 8 or 9 years. And what's maintenance? Like me, this morning, my meal, these exotic foods around the world, that was my breakfast. I'll have a lunch and a dinner, and then maybe every couple months I'll do another 48-hour intermittent nutritional fast. That's it. But Ray or anybody else, what do you think about this? No, not kimchi and seaweed. No. Sorry, Kit Kat. No, that's close, but no cigar. What are the exotic nutritional foods? I've only got 19 pounds to lose, Linda. All right, Linda, then you easily, Linda, I know it sounds crazy, you easily lose it in a month. You might lose it in 3 weeks. By the way, everyone, you need to know that the foods that you buy from these exotic foods that represent 70% of what you spend in a month, they give you 100% money back guarantee in the first 30 days. It says right on the website, 100% money back guarantee. How's that sound? Yeah, right. So Linda and everybody else, because I do have to go, but I'm not leaving before showing you the website where you can go to see the medical proof. See right there above his head in blue, the new health conversations. Somebody give me a yes that you can read it, because sometimes people have trouble reading on the screen, but I want to make sure you can see it, the new health conversation. If you go there, we will not contact you. We don't do that. We allow the medical proof to prove. Now, right above it says free coaching to ensure your success. If you go to the website and you like what you see, you can scroll down, you get a coach for free the whole time, because you've never done this before, and their job is to teach you how to get the maintenance and then show you how to keep it off for the rest of your life. But listen, everybody, you think you get on the cover of Women's World, June 9th issue. Go buy it. It's on the newsstand now. Over 50 protein miracle. Well, it's not just for people over 50, obviously. I coached these 2 women. The daughter is a nurse. She's 57 years old. She lost 50 pounds in 3 months. The mom, 80. Lost 90 pounds in 9 months, and they both kept it off now for over 2 years. You don't get on the cover of this as if some kind of a scam. What's the benefit to the magazine? None. This is huge. Now, why they picked was because of these 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies, and they interviewed the scientists who created this along with his team. This is making every single diet obsolete. Why would you go on a diet to lose a pound a week? Why? When, let's go to minimums, 5 pounds a week. Would you be excited with 5 pounds a week, everybody, and be healthy and then be able to maintain it for the rest of your life? Would that excite you? This makes every diet obsolete. Why would you ever go on a diet counting calories to lose a pound a week? You know that I'm right. Isn't it right? A pound a week you get pretty excited about? That's nothing on this. I mean, Curtis, an older gentleman, 10 pounds a week and 52.5 inches with no exercise. And look at his stomach and look at his blood work. A1C 8.4 to 6.4. Triglycerides 242 to 124 in 30 days with no exercise? Really? Or my friend's daughter? 60 pounds in 3 months. 60. That's 5 pounds a week for 3 straight months with no exercise. Look at her face. Look at her arms. Look at her body. What do you all think about that? It's real. Yeah, Linda, I'd be ecstatic. I see it. Okay, so I have to go, unfortunately, everybody. I'm going to one last time. You see the website, the New Health Conversation. It's 100% free to go there. There's nothing to buy. We will not contact you if you go there. But if you like what you see, scroll down and you get a free coach. It's no gimmick. It's a free coach the whole time through. And I'm sorry I have to go right now, but I do. But I will come on. Let's see. It's now 10:30. I'll do my next live, my next podcast will be at 12:30 today, or approximately Eastern Standard Time. That's 11:30 Central, 10:30 Mountain, and 9:30 Pacific. And I know we got people that watch this now from all over the world, but I just want to let everybody know. And you can send anybody to that website. They don't have to be on my podcast. And I thank you all. We're at 2,100 likes now, so obviously you must have liked the content. So his queen, Jess, I need this. So Jess, go to the website, look at all the medical proof, because a lot of what I've explained is on the website. There's an interview with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. That's probably the most important thing you can watch, not me. It's people say I'm yakking. No, I'm not yakking. I'm giving you medical proof. And it does take a little bit longer. This isn't some simple, oh, here's some recipes to lose weight. What a bunch of nonsense that is. And they're charging you for recipes, really? And then, so you have to buy the recipe to get a coach. We don't charge you anything for coaching. It's 100% free because someone coached us for free. So just confirm his queen, Jess. Do you see the medical website right above his head there in blue, the New Health Conference? Just give me a yes. I just want to make sure you see where you can go if you choose. And if you go there, his queen, we will not call. Okay, great. Are you excited a little bit, his queen, to see the medical proof and what this potentially could do for you? Yes, good. Okay. Listen, you've all been an amazing audience. Thank you so much for all your feedback, for your comments. Tell your friends about the New Health Conversation podcast. Also, my TikTok site, I've got over 1,400 5 to 10 minute reels on there. Lots of great information if you have time and you want to go there. But the main thing is these lives are so great because then I can interact with you in real time, okay? All right, everybody. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to sign off now.